Hey everybody, welcome to Punished for Protecting. Today we're going to be doing a very interesting piece, one that I'm actually quite excited to do, one that actually upsets me a great deal on Punished for Protecting. I'm working with a lot of, you guys know how I hate the word victims, but unfortunately these states have made victims of people and children. But it's a state that I actually really love and has a lot of beauty and beautiful mountains and a lot of great people. People that I know, people that I care about, people that are really good, honest people. And unfortunately, this state has abused countless families and children. It's a heartbreaking thing to have found out. And it's actually going to be in my book that's actually coming out as well, part of it. So the state is West Virginia, and as you know by the song we just played, and I'm going to actually just show this quick piece, and then I'm going to start interviewing some of the advocates and parents there in West Virginia to give you a little bit of understanding about what's happening in the state of West Virginia. And we see it doesn't take much to see the love in those photographs and the care of the children that you see in these pictures and so on in this little short video piece that you saw. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce you to some of our chapter leaders, advocates here. We have Mark here, who I'm going to introduce first, Mark Halliburton. Matter of fact, actually, that I, yeah. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Well, I'm a very frustrated, very angry parent, like a lot of probably everybody on here. And I haven't seen my son since June because my ex-wife and a guardian ad litem were able to go into a court hearing and lie about misconduct that didn't happen. We have an affidavit that proves that it was lies. Yesterday, I actually filed a Supreme Court appeal, an emergency appeal to get the DVP, and there was never an accusation of violence. They just used that as their vehicle to get me away from my son for the summer, and now renewed it till December. There was no hearing on the renewal. I went ahead and I filed for an emergency appeal yesterday. I was supposed to have my son last night for the parenting plan, but they didn't rule on it. When I called them this morning, they're like, well, we're going to do a scheduling order and we'll get around to it and we'll get back to you. And, meanwhile, the time ticks away. I feel like Judge Watkins screaming at the preacher that went on Fox News and all over the world 5 years ago. And I feel like I'm being targeted for the fact that I exposed his misconduct. Later, Judge Kelly, for lying about my dying mother and refusing to allow my son to see her before she died, and repeatedly lying about it. Took an ex-parte email that was fabricated from my ex-wife's attorney. What didn't put it in the court docket, but put it in the final order anyway. We later found out it was faxed ex-parte years later, and couldn't get an attorney to sue. This guy's name was Henry Glass. But we're basically, I've had 3 judges on the case. Michael Kelly, who is the personification of evil and a pathological liar. Sabrina Deskins, who lied last year, literally continued the case twice against the court rules beyond the 75 days that she was allowed. Posted pictures of her taking her kids to Disney World when she didn't have time to read the file. Omitted the part about her admitting that she didn't have time to read the file from the court video. But the prosecutor, Mark Sorcea, wouldn't go after her, but he's going after me for being given a wrong address and showing up at a guy's house that had a restraining order against me, because every time I report on his misconduct, he gets a restraining order. Was given a wrong address, verified it with the fire department, showed up, immediately left, and I'm literally faced a sentencing and an appeal this afternoon on that. And it's West Virginia is just the personification of corruption. What's that?
No, keep going.
Keep going. Okay. And the Supreme Court allows judges like Mike Kelly and Sabrina Deskins to lie and get away with it. The Judicial Investigation Commission, they meet once every 2 months. So I filed a complaint on our current judge is Judge Keller, who was supposed to have the final order in on August 16th. Today's October 12th, and we still don't have the final order. We had to file a writ of mandamus against her to get that. They still haven't ruled on that. So you have to, hire an attorney to file additional papers at an additional expense to get the judge to do their job. She's the one that's in that heroin with an E on the end, Netflix documentary, as the hero for fighting judges and drugs in Huntington. And my thing is that, when you abuse people like Judge Keller does, people turn to drugs. I don't, but other people do. And I think she's part of the drug problem. I don't think she's part of the solution. But yet she's got time to do a documentary and be interviewed and star in a documentary, but she doesn't have time to get my final order done, which was due August 16th. Our guardian ad litem lied about me. I run a news website, PutnamCountyNews.com. I do kitchen inspections, and I did one on a Nazarene camp where they sent my son, and I've done it on many camps and 280 locations I've done kitchen inspections on. The health department does them. I just report the facts. The camp went unglued because they had 15 violations, which is about 3 times what most people have, what other camps have had. And went up, met with the health department administrator by appointment. Next thing I know, they're falsely accusing me of taking pictures in a girl's dorm. 1, I didn't take pictures. 2, I didn't go in a dorm. And 3, there were no girls because the camp wasn't even in session for 2.5 weeks later. But yet they went ahead and lied and said that I did that. We have an affidavit from the health department administrator saying that I didn't take pictures. None of this matters to the court. All they say is, well, you can't see your son. Yeah. And it's, Judge Keller's the latest judge. But I'm convinced that, with a few exceptions, Judge Witt's a good guy, but he's not hearing our case because he used to advertise on my website when he was an attorney before he was a judge. So he recused himself to be ethical, and I get that. But with the exception of Judge Witt, I haven't seen a family court judge in West Virginia that could spell ethics. If I spotted in the vowels the consonants and brought in Vanna White to touch the letters. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They just couldn't. They are unethical. Mm-hmm. They lie. They violate the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And they get away with it because West Virginia is one of about 30 states nationwide that don't allow reporters in the family court. Oh, and that's another thing. Judge Keller has violated my First Amendment rights and has done what's called an interlocutory order, not the final order, saying that I can't have my courtroom videos because I'll publish them. And she's actually said because she's afraid I'll publish the videos and expose the wrongdoing. Well, no kidding. But there's this thing called the First Amendment.
That's right.
But because she hasn't issued the final order, we can't appeal that.
That's another thing. That's a tactic that they use across the nation with these temporaries. They do this on purpose because they don't want to be found out. They gag order people just like any bully would because they don't want to be exposed. They've been hiding behind their buildings for so long, and the only avenue out is to continue to do what we're doing here, exposing them. And yes, you have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. You have a right to report the news, and they're violating that. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And we're all sick and tired of it. We are sick and tired of it as parents and advocates, watching these people run this circus act for years. But here's the most important crime they're committing. They are endangering the welfare of countless children across our entire nation. Now, when there's real abuse, like domestic violence, drug addiction, criminal activity, they're putting children with those people. But it's still abusive when you remove a fit, good, healthy parent from a child and a child from a fit, good, healthy parent. That is abuse, and they're causing irreparable damages and placing these children in emotional risk pretty much for the rest of their lives if they don't get any type of recourse for that.
Yeah, Judge Kelly let my son live with my ex-wife's mother, who lived in the home until literally she passed away a year ago. But he wouldn't let my son visit my mother in California, who he hadn't seen since he was 10 months old. And when I asked the Supreme Court to reverse that, and Judge Keller says, well, you expect the court to produce a final visit. You're mentally ill. I was like, no, lady, you're mentally ill for backing up a judge that lied about a dying grandmother. The guardian ad litem says, I want them to reincarnate her from the grave. No, I never said that. And two, she's never been in a grave. So, the bottom line is that how can I have him reincarnate somebody from a grave that's not been in a grave? They lie. Eric Parashos is the guardian ad litem. He is a pathological liar. We produced 9 different lies to the judge to get her to remove him from the case, including, in addition to the fact that she ordered that he have the final report in by June 12th. He didn't get it in until the 29th. He didn't ask for extra time, but she let him off the hook. The state code says that he has 60 days to do it. He was appointed on April 26th, got the report in June 29th. That's beyond the 60 days. But yet he's still on the case, and she's holding back the final order. Judge Keller, Eric Parashos, you both belong in Leavenworth. Mm-hmm. You are violating the Constitution. You're violating court rules. Mm-hmm. You are criminal people, and you belong in Leavenworth.
Yep, and it's because they don't realize that they actually do have people that are much higher than them, and they're going to start finding out that they do have these people that are going to hold these people accountable. Nathan Cruz said,
on October 26th, the local theater in Huntington, West Virginia is going to screen the Netflix documentary Heroin. I've already ordered my free ticket. I'm inviting everybody to order a free ticket and come out and tell the world how Judge Keller violates the Constitution, violates state rules, and invite her to be thrown into prison. And we'll ruin her night. We'll expose her and ruin her night.
Well, you know what? The Army is fierce and the Army is large. And that's why I tell everybody, stop hiding, people. Get out there, show your faces, be bold, and continue this pushback because we're winning, guys, and we're going to continue because they're violating the laws of the land. And that's it. It's as simple as that. I just want to say real quick, because I have to go to the next person here. Nathan Cruz said, and this is important, he just stated the judge gave consent to record in session and obstructed him due to prevent preferential treatment. So that's true. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mark. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your news articles and everything. We really thank you for that. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
And if anybody wants to send me an op-ed, news@putnamcountynews.com is the email address. Send me an op-ed and send me a good quality picture to run of you.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. And that includes you, Francisca. We'll run your articles.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I'm going to go to Missy McDonald. She's also our chapter leader for West Virginia. I'm sorry. Is it Huntington, West Virginia, Missy?
Hampshire County.
Hampshire County, West Virginia. Go ahead and tell us your piece.
Yeah, actually, my horror story begins on August 16th of 2016. I have 2 beautiful little girls that I've had full custody of since, the day that they were born. I've pretty much been the main caregiver of these 2 children. There was domestic violence in the home, and that was one reason why I filed for divorce, was because I didn't believe that my girls needed to be around this as an example, and I had some behavioral issues with my youngest. This is what started it. I ended up having to call the sheriff's department to come out and handle her. They come out and did what they needed to do, then turns around and they tell me that you need to get with their doctor. I contacted her pediatrician, who then tells me it's out of his area of expertise. He can't help me, sends me to another professional, and I'm explaining everything to her as far as the behavior goes. And she tells me to go to this hospital. We're there for 11 hours. Then we're told that she's denied because she doesn't meet age requirements. Then we're told by a social worker at the hospital they're going to send her to another facility if it's approved. Basically, she didn't get approved by any means that entire night. We turned around and I contacted the lady that referred us there. She said, let me know what's going on. At 2:40 in the morning, I contacted the facility back because she had sent in a referral letter to them. The second facility they referred us to ended up denying her the first go around. After the referral that this lady sent, when I contacted to ask them what was going on, they wanted her right then and there. They claimed that she was an emergency basis and that we needed to leave immediately and bring her there. At 2:40 in the morning, that kid was asleep. There was no way I was waking her up. I asked them, I said, can I please come at first light? Because I said, I'm not familiar with the area. The child is asleep. I'm not going to wake her up. Anyway, they refused. They wouldn't allow me to bring her that day. We come home. That night, after she had visitation with her father, she started running around the house acting completely off the wall. She tried to electrocute herself. She tried to jump out of a 2-story window. Total off the wall behavior that was nowhere near normal for what she wanted. She had presented me something that I questioned, which I believe every mother has the right to.
Absolutely.
And it concerned her. And I contacted the lady that had told me to go to these facilities on her recommendation. When I went to the hospital actually kept us overnight, transferred us to a psychiatric facility who told us that we had to go there for a psychiatric evaluation. However, they ended up, after I signed the paperwork, keeps this child as a patient in their facility and tells me now that she will be there until they discharge her. So the doctor ends up claiming that she is ADHD and bipolar, which she had some issues, and he said we can medicate her with that, put her on a prescription. In the meantime, I get a call from CPS stating that they have an allegation of sexual abuse by the father. I said, what sexual abuse are you talking about? I said, I'm questioning, and I showed them video. I took video of my daughter, what she said that night. And I said, this is what we're questioning. However, when I went to meet with them for a temporary protection plan, they had stated, this is what gets me, nowhere did I ever say that he was doing this, but they stated in the paperwork that he was causing redness to her private region during the visits. Then they claimed that I signed this paperwork, which I didn't sign the paperwork. So once that was all done, they told me I had to take my child to the local courthouse, which when I took her there, I was met by 2 more women. I had no idea who they were. They wanted to, one, interview my daughter. They took my oldest daughter, interviewed her, come back, released her. It says, we need you to bring your next daughter tomorrow. Brought her in. First thing I know, they bring us and separate us into a room. And she says, I'm sorry, but there's a hiccup in the system, and the state is now taking custody of your children. They told me if I didn't leave the property right then and there, they would have me escorted out by the local law enforcement. The lady that had come out of the room that had interviewed my daughter escorted me to the car and made me leave. And in the meantime, I'm trying to figure out what had happened. She would not give me any information, no warrants, no paperwork, no nothing was ever showed to me when I left that courthouse. However, I found out that on Friday when I picked up the paperwork, because she called me Wednesday wanting me to bring the children's clothes to the local DHHR because they were starting school the next day. She said, you need to pick up papers in the courthouse. They were charging me with imminent danger of severe emotional abuse and parental alienation, saying that I am claiming that my children have been sexually assaulted by my ex-husband and that they continue to do this, and that I tried to do this during family court to gain leverage. Problem is, in family court, he openly admitted to the judge that there was domestic violence in the home and that he did hit me. And that's why I had the DVP put on it. However, the children, when they were taken from me, were placed with him and they have been in his care ever since. So 420 days later, I just recently found out that they terminated my custodial rights to my children.
And you've
So
never
now
had one legitimate, I know this for a fact, you've never had one legitimate evidence-based, evidence-based mandated by the state, every state under the laws of the land. You've never had one evidence-based trial. They took your children, they seized them, they screwed with your rights. Okay, your termination isn't even legal. Nothing that they have done is even closely or remotely legal in any manner. Nothing, not a single freaking thing that these idiots have done.
Is, the court-appointed attorney. I didn't realize this, and I ask everybody, please read your manuals. I didn't know this, but a court-appointed attorney told me that I had to take a psychiatric evaluation, that I had to play their game, and that this needed to be done, or I would lose rights to my children right then and there.
Missy, they actually use that word.
They actually.
I'm sorry, Missy. They actually use that verbiage to you. Play their game. They said play their game, or did they? Or you're just saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh no, I have it actually recorded. They said that you have to play their game.
You have to play their game. Do you guys hear that? You have to play their game. Why would we want to play any game? This is not a game. These are children's lives. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And what gets me is let me get back to psych exam. Anyway, the psych exam, which I ended up taking, I went to a place that the gentleman had no prior knowledge of me whatsoever. And I don't even have any priors, not even a speeding ticket on my record.
Mm-hmm.
However, this gentleman diagnosed me with antisocial personality disorder on an MP5 provisional.
Yeah, I can see how antisocial you are. You're horrible.
I know, right?
Idiots. You can get them. You can actually get them on. You can get them on defamation of character on that one. Defamation of character, and they violated your HIPAA rights too. Go ahead.
Yeah. And that was a thing that I found out after reading the CPS handbook. It's actually in section 7.18. The manual that I have it's on page 228. I'm starting to slowly memorize these things because parents need to know this when they tell you have to play their game. It states in there that a caregiver, which is myself of the children, can actually deny having a psych eval or mental or physical examination.
That's right.
Where the parent or caregiver cannot be held in contempt, nor can they have the rights terminated.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, so they told me I had to do this in order to keep my children, which was a blatant lie because my children are still not with me 420 days later.
No, this is disgusting. And these children shouldn't be gone from their parents for a second, let alone the days, the months, the years that we've been witnessing across the entire nation. This is wrong. The only children that should be safeguarded are those that are actually in danger, and those are the ones that they place right into the hands of danger. Missy, did you have anything else you needed to wrap this up with? Because I know you have to go.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that another part of my thing was that the social workers, the assistant prosecuting attorney, everybody that is going after me wants me to admit to wrongdoing.
Right.
I keep asking them. I said, what did I do wrong?
Uh-huh.
Here's what gets me. My last attorney that I had the caseworker on the stand and told her, said, as a mother, what would you have did in the heat of the moment, wondering that you had a child with suicidal intentions? What would you have done? Her first answer was, well, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't diagnose if the child has a problem. He goes, no, I'm not asking you about that. What I'm asking you as a mother, what would you have done with a child that displays actions just like her daughter did? I would have taken her to the hospital. I said, exactly. So you admit to wrongdoing because you did exactly what I was doing by what the professionals told me to do.
Right. No, first of all, they need to get mental health evaluations, each and every last one of them, for doing this job in the first place. That's number one. Okay. And second of all, they need to start admitting to wrongdoing. They only want you to admit to wrongdoing so they can kind of cover their tracks, and then they can play further a game with you. You have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Watch and see. Watch and see. Guaranteed. All right. Thank you, Missy. Rich is a president of the FCLU West Virginia and the chapter leader for West Virginia for the National Coalition Family Court and CPS Reform. Rich, what do you feel about some of this stuff you're hearing?
Yeah, I went through all this. I'll repeat myself. I'm the first person in court history to beat kangaroo court.
In West Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, Wood County.
Wood County, West Virginia.
Yeah, they cover up child abuse and neglect cases. And with my son's case, they at 2005 to 2008, it's Wood County, and I'll go over a couple of people that are involved, and I'm sure the people that even live around the surrounding area. I'm in Belmont, West Virginia, which is Pleasants County. 2005, 2008, it's Wood County Family Court. That's Parkersburg,
Yep.
which the judge was C. Darren Tallman. I had Brian Carr. He's in St. Mary's as an attorney. Robert S. Fluharty, who's in Parkersburg, guardian ad litem. George, can't remember, George Chandler. Yeah, they just let ongoing abuse to my son, which he almost died. And then, yeah, it was completely rigged. My son's case was rigged, both of them. In 2012, 2014, when I beat kangaroo court 6 to 8 times, my son was never taken from me. I put a stop to it was a standard visitation issue. Okay. When you put a stop to, and especially in my case, when my son's mother was in prison for drug trafficking, so they drugged me through like 2 years of illegal court proceedings, trying everything that they could. And the judges, the 2005, 2008 case was stretched out. So the circuit court judge, 2005 to 2008, was Wood County Circuit Court Judge Reed. Then at the last second, he recused himself, and we got Judge Waters, Robert Waters. And then 2012, like I said, I was illegally taken to court.
Mm-hmm.
Judge was, it was Judge Waters. I went through 6 court-appointed counsels, which was Tom Carr, Parkersburg, Reggie Bailey of Parkersburg. These are all court-appointed goats.
Yep.
William, yeah, that's what they are. They're goat attorneys. William B. Summers and Associates, which was William B. Summers. He's a punk, can't stand this guy. Robin Bonovich. Let me think. Keith White, I made him recuse. And then they threw John Oshaway on me. I didn't even know this until I contacted Child Support Enforcement, which I have full custody. She should not even have visitation, all right? Her rights were terminated. It's a fact. I got evidence to back it. She gets like 4 days a month unsupervised. If there's any evidence, she has no custodial rights. She has no legal rights to my son. She does not pay me child support. She hasn't even paid me a dime. Okay, but yeah, I'll go back over, and then I'm not even going to go over CPS. Well, I'll go over the guardian items, which Missy sent me a PDF thing of all the qualified guardian ad litems in the state of West Virginia. The 2 that I had, which was Starcher and Frum, Heather L. Starcher and G. Bradley Frum, they were supposed guardian ad litems. They're not even listed. They're not even, I guess there's a qualification. I don't know, but they're not qualified to be guardian ad litems. Get that one. But yeah, I'll go over it real quick. Yeah, I mean, the corruption in West Virginia, it's all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just not like, I've read several articles and posts, and I'm talking almost every other judge, prosecutor's office is doing this, rigging cases, they're stealing children.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
And yeah, they're blatantly stealing children. And so with anybody, see, nobody listens to me. Oh, you're not an attorney. You don't have to be. I beat them just by common sense.
No, trust me, they're listening to you. They're listening to you.
They're go ahead, Francesca.
No, I'm saying, trust me, Rich, they're listening to you loud and clear. The world is listening to you.
I don't care.
These little dingbats that run this circus, these little dingbats, they're all their own little. They're like when mold grows, it grows and it feeds on itself, but anything outside of it that's clean doesn't listen to that crap. It cleans it up. So.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, with his case, there was a hospital that was involved. Schools trying to get me for he's making A's and B's and C's on his freaking report card. then tell CPS that he needs to be in special needs classes. Why would I get my son in special needs classes when he has A, B's, and C's on his report card, which they were false? I took him out to homeschooling because Wood County CPS and guardian ad litems they do an illegal ongoing investigation.
Right.
It's a one-time deal. It's not an ongoing. So that's what they did. It was 2 years. Guardian ad litem did an illegal investigation for about a year and 11 months. It was ongoing. And then CPS was, they couldn't do anything. I shut them out. They did an illegal investigation for about a year, a little bit over a year. I went through the state. I went through the disciplinary council, lawyer disciplinary council, sent them massive evidence, audio, court documents. They did an investigation for a year and then the Office of Inspector General investigating Wood County CPS. A year later, they both closed out the cases because, Office of Inspector General told me, they couldn't find anything. The lawyer disciplinary council told me that I had insufficient evidence. Number one, they don't do an investigation unless there's sufficient evidence.
This is just a cop-out. It's just a cop-out. I mean, Parkersburg Child Predator Services is one of the most ignorant they're all pretty bad, but Parkersburg is one of the most ignorant child predator services I've ever experienced and witnessed. They are completely in violation of the laws. They do not protect children. They endanger them. They place them in risk. And if they followed any of the protocol that they're actually supposed to in their very own guidelines, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. They don't even read their own book, okay? That's how off-base they are. So you do not place children into danger and say that you're a child protective agency. That's insane. That's a complete conundrum of what you're supposed to be doing and what they are actually in fact doing. So, and then there's that, I don't know if I've asked you before, but you said you don't know her, but that Sergeant Cox, I'm going to pull up some information on her.
She has a video. She has a video on her.
Yeah, she's a mental case. I mean, she should not have a gun. She's a danger to society. And she was already reprimanded before and needs to be dealt with very fiercely, but
she won't.
But
she won't. I know who she is.
She will be, because she's going to be dealing with New York very soon. Trust me, she will be.
Well, that's the thing about it is like the children's listening place, they need to be looked into. They are not a non-profit.
Well, first of all, they're not listening. The children's listening.
I don't care what they're listening. If they listen to not, because that's fraud. Wasn't it New York that they did an investigation and I'm not sure if it was New York or another state, where whomever investigated a bunch of these so-called non-profit organizations and found out that they were being sponsored by the state.
Right.
Like, what the heck, man? So that's what children's listening place are doing. I mean, they have and even I can't remember her name. She gets like $40,000. You don't get money. You don't get that type of money. You don't get that money from the state.
Well, first of all, these people have been big fishes in small ponds for a long time, but now they've got some sharks that are going to eat them. That's all I have to say about that, and it'll all come out very soon. Because the things that they're doing. Last thing
I'd like to say, go ahead. I said, go ahead. I had one last thing I wanted to say.
No, go ahead.
It's like I'm saying, and how I beat these. I mean, everybody's like, well, you gotta. No, because if I had to study what I could, and like what Missy's going through, that's what I did. You see what I'm saying? You have to do that. That's what I had to do because I knew what I was going through. I had no family support. My family would not listen to nothing that I said. They would not sit down and look at the law, CPS policies, procedures, nothing. I did it on my own. Okay? That's what you have to do. You can't sit in court. That's what they try to put a gag order on my First Amendment rights, and it did not work.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
that's what you have to do. You got to stand up in court. And my strategy guide, I'm going to get it out. They don't want it released because it's going to shut this crap down. It's going to make them backpedal. That's what I kept doing, was made them backpedal. I was literally shutting down hearings.
Yeah, well, we are shutting them
there's
down.
New allegations. They're not attorneys. I even doubt if they even have a license. I don't care what the Secretary of or whatever the Secretary of State sites say that they have a license. I don't believe it. Go ahead.
No, and I agree with you, but they will be shut down, guaranteed on that one. Rich, thank you very much. I have more. Samantha, if you can turn your video back on, I did have somebody call in from 304, which is West Virginia, but I don't see you on here. Anybody that's watching this right now, if you're from West Virginia and you want to tell your story right now while we're live, go to Missy McDonald's page. She will, and email her. She will send you the link to this, and I will take your story right now while we're live. Samantha, if we can have you on now.
If you want me to go over some things until people get on,
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead and as soon as I see Samantha, we'll start her interview.
Well, did she come on here?
She's on, but she's not, I cannot see her or hear her.
Yeah, the thing about West Virginia, now I'm not saying that everybody's corrupt. I'm not saying that because I have met very nice police officers, okay, that do not like CPS.
I did a whole great deal of benevolence work for the police officers, the state troopers, far and wide in the state of West Virginia. There's some wonderful police officers there, and troopers, and retired, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so
well, they know they got to do their job. These good officers, you know what I'm saying? They know the corruption. It's like, well, we better do what we're told, or we ain't going to have a job. We ain't going to be able to work for the government anymore and be completely broke. Yeah. So and I believe that I know there's probably some good judge CPS workers. There's what the heck?
I do not know.
So what happens? What was I going to think? I was just interrupted. There's a CPS worker on my son's past case. She quit because they wouldn't stop abuse. Now, whether or not she would talk, I'd really doubt it. And she would, she took pictures of my son's bruising, which those have never surfaced. And I got pretty, how anything could be photoshopped, and everybody thinks, oh, come on, you're ridiculous. Yeah, I have photos, and I know in fact they were photoshopped because I can do it in about 2 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're trying to. My mother was there, 2005, and it has happened. He had massive bruising. He had he's being choked around his neck. His ears are pulled. One continuous bruise from the mid of his butt, clear down the back of his legs. He's getting hit with belts.
And they let him go to her unsupervised now.
Yeah, even though they still let her.
I don't understand how they're violating their own laws. I mean, this is just absurd. This is absurd, unbelievable. How many days a week, or 4 days a month, you said?
There's 4 days.
Out of the month.
Well, yeah, she doesn't pay me child support.
Yeah.
Because the child support enforcement said that Judge Reed put a stop to visitation in 2007 because it wouldn't benefit the child, which would be Jordan.
See, that
clearly means that her rights are terminated.
Right.
They won't release that. They won't release anything.
Well, like I said, we have a lot of steps and measures. We have a lot in effect. We have a lot of lawyers, lots of lawyers, and West Virginia is a state that I told you before when I first met you. I have not only my eye on, but I have a personal interest in this state. The love-hate interest, and there will be a massive federal lawsuit hitting that state with everybody of West Virginia joining on to the joinder of that state, and you're one of them, obviously. I'm going to try.
They can afford my lawsuit.
Oh, they're not going to be able to, but they're going to get hit. There's no question. But I don't take kindly to any abuse to children, as you know. And I need to go to Samantha right now, so hold on a second, Rich. Taylor County, West Virginia. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Well, my case started last year. I filed for emergency custody of my children in June of last year because my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, was living with a convicted child abuser. They denied my emergency custody. That was Beth Longo. Went in for my divorce hearing October 5th, 2016.
I heard October of 2016, but it's all you're being. So this is the woman, Sergeant Cox. She is a sergeant in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Okay? Take a good look, folks. Now let me show you this news article. Just give me a minute. While Rich goes ahead and gets that information for me. Or gets that phone number for me. Some of you may have seen this on WTAP, West Virginia. This here article basically says a viral video surfaces on social media causing an uproar in the Mid-Ohio Valley with the Parkersburg Police Department. It's from an incident back in July. Now, this was 2015. I dealt with her in January of 2017, which that will be aired in a complete formal interview of my situation that occurred, and you'll be blown away by it. And we do have a huge video footage of that as well that we have not disclosed yet. It's this woman right here. It shows an interaction between a Parkersburg police officer and an unidentified male. The officer, Sergeant W.J. Cox, and this is public information, so I can share it, who's been with the department for over 7 years. Officials tell us she was patrolling Southwood Park when she saw the male imitating sexual acts on the playground. That set her off. The nearly 3-minute video shows Sergeant Cox swearing at the individual, calling him names, and using explicit language. Now, I just want to let you know that this was a child that she was doing this to, though. You're funny thinking you're so blank funny, walking around flipping people off, acting like you're a blank stripper. This is a public park, you dumb blank, said Sergeant Cox. The video is said to be taken by 14-year-olds. So she acted this way in front of 14-year-old children. You should only know what she did in front of my 9-year-old child. And we'll definitely have that out. You guys you'll enjoy what we have in offices. You'll enjoy what our taxes pay for. 14-year-olds who were present during the interaction. Parkersburg Police Chief Joe Martin says he's disappointed in the officers' actions and says their department does not condone this type of behavior. Yet in January of 2016, they condoned it again, just so you guys are aware. I have detailed complaints CC'd out there and part of my federal lawsuit. I'm embarrassed, he says, that it happened, number one. Number two, that's not something that we promote, that condone, and we won't tolerate it. So, we're a professional department. I expect our officers to act professionally. We don't want the public to see us in a negative way or a negative light. We'll overcome it. We'll learn from it. And obviously we need some more training, says Chief Martin. Let me go back and let me just reiterate that in 2017, this same woman acted a fool once again, in Parkersburg, West Virginia, when she acted a complete fool and disrespected me and my child. But that will come out publicly very soon. So, okay. We're back here with Rich. Are we able to get Samantha back on a phone call? No?
I'm here on the phone call.
Okay, great. So Samantha, go ahead and tell your story. That's much better.
Okay. So we got to October 5th.
Yes, that's as far as we got.
I went in for my divorce hearing.
Mm-hmm.
The new judge, Johnson, immediately ordered my kids into state's custody because of my boyfriend's criminal history, which she was previously a lawyer on one of his previous cases.
Okay.
And then my husband could not have the kids because he was living with a registered child abuser.
Oh, my goodness.
So they based on taking my kids on my boyfriend's previous criminal history, which had nothing to do with children at all.
So now you, at this current time, though, how often do you see your children?
I have not seen my children since June. They terminated my parental rights in April.
What is your background like, though? I mean, have you kept them from harm? Because I'm a very strong stickler on keeping children from harm, and boyfriends or husbands or girlfriends or wives that are in a home with children that are not safe for them. I'm very strong on that. I'm very strong-willed on that. I just want to make sure that, did you do everything you could to keep them safe? That's my main concern.
My children were safe in my care at all times. I filed for emergency custody, which was denied, so that was trying to keep them safe.
Right. You were trying to keep them safe, and then they denied it. So they actually placed your children at risk.
Yes, they did.
And now, tell me a little bit about your background, though. Do you have anything on your background at all, or did
No.
they stepped all over your rights there as well?
Correct. I have no criminal history, nothing.
Yeah, I'm
They
sorry.
even proved that I was protective in the past for my children.
Right, right. It's a typical, and I have to ask these questions just so that the audience hears clearly. You know and they know how I am. They know how I am. So but that they know clearly that it's always the parents that are protective, or that are victims of domestic violence that are suffering further, and then this just causes, as we've said it over and over, irreparable damages to our children in our nation. This is a national crisis, people. This can't get any more serious than this. This should be the #1 top priority in the country, that we stop these predators, child predator services, and family courts. They need to be ceased. They need to dismiss completely everything that they've done. All these orders need to be completely looked back into and overturned. And we, the people, need to continue to fight this good fight, because this is just wrong on every level. Samantha, stick with Missy, because we're going to continue to work with you, and we will include you in a federal lawsuit against the state of West Virginia.
Will do.
So, and is there anything else you wanted to add to this, honey, or?
Okay. The main reason they used to terminate my parental rights was because I would not stand up in court and tell Judge Mode that my boyfriend was a horrible person and did not deserve to be around children.
I see. Wow. Wow. And how long ago was this offense that he did?
It's been many, many years ago. It was just burglary charges.
And was he a junior at that time, or?
He's 36 now. It was in his 20s.
Okay, so was it like some foolish kid thing that he did? I'm not defending it, but sort of like some...
Yeah, how old was you? He said he was 28 when it happened.
Oh, so he was an adult.
That wouldn't even be relevant. That wouldn't even be relevant if it's that long ago. That wouldn't even be relevant.
Well, it's not relevant in the grand scheme, especially for the fact that they're actually placing children with level 3 sex offenders. They're placing children with repeat domestic violence perpetrators. They're placing children with parents that violate orders of protection repeatedly. They're placing children with parents who do drugs and deal drugs, that are perpetually doing these crimes. So it's just another haphazard, irresponsible court rendering. Did you ever have like a normal, like I always talk about the evidence-based mandated state evidence-based trials and hearings, where evidence is actually presented to the court, where you're not guilty unless you're proven. Did you have that due process?
Not that I recall.
Yeah, I think you'd know it.
No.
Yeah, it's sick. It's utterly crazy. All right. Well, thank you guys. Let me just check and see if there's anybody else that has called in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up now. I do thank everybody for watching. We are actually in the process right now of I'm drafting a formal complaint for the state of Minnesota. Okay, and we are collecting names and judges' names and so on and so forth, caseworkers and so on and so forth. So you keep sending that information. That would go to Melanie Lindemann. She's collecting the information for me, and then we will have that submitted as soon as possible. And I do believe we're going to be doing a exposing Minnesota as well. We more likely will be hitting every state because there's so many of you writing me literally 24 hours a day. That we need to do a little bit more mass exposing at this point. We do highly recommend that you guys do get on our public meetings. We try to do them once a week. That would be very helpful to those of you that are in desperate need of help. We have now a whole new page that Rhonda McFetridge made, and it's a like page, so you don't have to keep getting notifications. But basically what that is a networking of advocates. So if you get on that page, you can easily find out who's in your area to help you right away. Everybody needs to have court watch. It's very important that you get stuff on the record. Exposing is one of the most powerful tools that we have, and it's legally protected. So you know that. These intimidation tactics, you guys need to push back and fight back and demand your rights. You need to state in court that you want what you're saying on the record. If your lawyer is not doing their job, fire them, get rid of them. Public defender, it doesn't matter, get rid of them. You have a legal right to zealously be represented by an attorney in this country, period. These people that are taking your children, this is insane. They could not legally take your TV from your house, yet you think they can take your physical child. That is insane. That is your property, believe it or not. Okay? I'm not trying to call children property, but that is your legal property. Okay? And you have to fight it in any manner whatsoever. We do have experts on all the time. We have attorneys on all the time that are emphatically trying to explain to you your legal constitutional rights that are being violated. What we want to do is continue to have a pattern of abuses, and the amount of people that we have as we continue to build these lawsuits. We are about to have New York State will be served very shortly. It's already been in process. I was given constitutional clearance by the federal court. Most of it was dismissed, but it doesn't matter because we're going to continue to fight, because each and every one of these child attorneys, gals, judges, they will lose their licenses, and they will either be sitting in jail or they will not be working any longer. We will not stop. Our army is huge. It keeps growing every day. Please do not be offended if I don't get back to you. I am trying. I am one person, even though I'm working with tons of people across the nation. We have a way that we're doing this, an approach that is helpful to everybody. Public meetings, please watch the Facebook pages. Very important that you read the details. They're in the status messages, and follow the instructions. When we have public meetings, get on them, because that's the best way for us to help you. We do have advocates all over the place, and like I said, it's growing every single day. Okay, we are gaining more and more ground. We are about to go on in Nassau County, Long Island. It's covering a ton of territory. I am very excited about that. We also took a membership with that as well. Okay, our TV show is growing very, very fast for being such a grassroots TV show, because this is such a desperate need in our country. Okay, guys, so know that your voices are being heard. And my book is about to be out, and I'm already getting people wanting to interview me for the book. So I'm already being scheduled, and the book hasn't even been published yet. Okay? Your voices are extremely important, and yes, you are being heard. This is unacceptable. Our children should not be abused by our courts. This should not be happening. And if we don't put a stop to it, they sure as hell aren't going to. It is up to us to demand our rights, stay protected, be protected, and above all, that our children are protected. This is absolutely and utterly unacceptable. I look forward to seeing all of you at the Washington, D.C. meet and greet on October 21st. I will be available the entire day. We're coming down on Friday evening, and I'm coming with a Sullivan County chapter leader, Jessica Erickson. And if you guys didn't get to see it, she had her whole back window of her car made with Punish for Protecting. And Melanie Lindeman has a magnet on the back of her car with Punish for Protecting, which any of you in any state can get these things done if you'd like to as well, to advertise and actually empower yourselves by showing that we're not tolerating this garbage anymore. Thank you. And if you want to be on our show, please go to the website, punishbeingaaparent.com, and go to the contact form and fill it out. Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye now.